Hi students, welcome to the BYJU'S Hindu News Analysis for 11th of August 2018. So let's get started. So let's look into the first article. So the first article says Khangchendzonga Biosphere Reserve enters UNESCO list. So what exactly is the context? So when we look into the context, it says the Khangchendzonga Biosphere Reserve of Sikkim, the highest biosphere reserve in the country, includes the third highest mountain peak, that is Khangchendzonga, has been included in the UNESCO's World Network of Biosphere Reserve. So first question that pops up is, what exactly is the World Network of Biosphere Reserve? So basically, when we understand what this whole network is, one of the basic objective of this network is how exactly is there a common integration between the people as well as the nature with respect to the sustainable development. On one side you have the people, on the other side you have the nature. How exactly is the mutual understanding between these two segments of the nature? How exactly is there an integration? How exactly are they able to integrate together? How they are able to move together is what this whole idea of biosphere reserve is. So it is a connection of all the number of biospheres around the world is called as the World Network of Biosphere Reserve. So what exactly happens in this particular process is there is participatory dialogue, there is knowledge sharing, there is poverty reduction, and then human well-being improvements across the world. So let's say, for example, there is a particular protocol, there is a particular participation that has happened from the people, and it has actually done wonders to this particular region. So what exactly happens is the same adaptation is taken up and it is implemented and tried and worked out in some other region. So what exactly happens with respect to this is there are certain value system, there are certain ethos. If it is worked out in a particular region, the same is adapted and it is implemented in another region so that there is sustainability in this particular region. So what we are basically doing is we are interacting with the nature, and when we have possible interaction with the nature and when we have sustainability, then we will be implementing the same thing in and around the world. So the basic core area of all this World Network of Biosphere Reserve is understanding between a human as well as a nature, and how exactly are we taking up the sustainability model across the world is what this whole idea is all about. So one of the basic things with respect to this article is, first we will have to understand what exactly is the geographical feature. So when we look into the geographical feature, what it says is the Khangchendzonga National Park is the core area of this particular Khangchendzonga Biosphere Reserve, and it has been inscribed as the Mixed World Heritage Site. So what we need to understand is that this Khangchendzonga National Park, kindly remember the name, this is the first mixed heritage site. In case it does pop up in the prelims, you should be in a position to understand it is. So what exactly do we mean by mixed world heritage site? So basically, in case there is a particular world heritage where it has both the cultural value as well as the natural value, that particular world heritage site will be called as the mixed world heritage site. So if it has two values of culture, that there is criteria that it fulfills in the form of natural and cultural criteria, then it means we are holding on to this particular process. So what exactly is the next thing we have to understand? So there are certain facts that has been given in the article. We will have to know these facts. So what are the facts? It says the last biosphere reserve to be included was the Agastya Malai Biosphere Reserve, which is in Kerala. So kindly remember where exactly the Agastya Malai Biosphere is, and then it says the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve was the first reserve from the country to be included in the World Network of Biosphere Reserve. And India has almost 18 biosphere reserves, of which 11 have been included in the World Network of Biosphere Reserves. So these are some of the facts that we need to remember. Apart from this, what we also need to understand is what would be the significant aspect. Now that this particular biosphere reserve becomes a part of the World Network, what exactly would be the significance? One of the major significant factor is with respect to the research and development. What will happen is, now that this is put in the world's list, people would be getting exposed to this particular area, so they would find this particular bioreserve on the world map. Now because it is on the world map, all the people would get inquisitive, and because they get inquisitive, they would want to see what exactly is this region all about. They would want to do a research and development, and once this happens, what would ideally happen indirectly is the tourism sector. So what would happen on two fronts is, one is the collaborative research, the other one is the tourism. So these would be the significant aspects. So apart from this, there is also the species diversity that we need to see. What exactly it says is that there are about 34 biodiversity hotspots that has been got the species diversity with high levels of endemism, with many mountains, peaks, lakes, caves, rocks, stupas, as well as hot springs. And this bioreserve has also listed 362 species of ferns, over 118 species of large number of medicinal plants are actually found in Zongu Valley in North Sikkim. And one of the most important points that we need to understand from the prelims perspective is about the blood pheasants. So this blood pheasants have actually been the state bird of the region of Assam. So kindly remember this from the prelims perspective. So even in the previous years, UPSC has been asking something with reference to butterflies and birds and so on. So there was one of the butterflies that was actually asked in 2016, and that was blue mormon. That was the state butterfly of Maharashtra. So there can also be a potential question with respect to the same thing. So kindly remember that blood pheasants are actually the state bird of Sikkim. So this can be a potential question from your prelims perspective. So this is all we will have to know from this article. So moving on, let's look into the next article. So the next article says Center launches portal for scientific research and funding. So what exactly are we speaking about? So we will be looking in detail about the Indian Science, Technology and Innovation portal. So this is actually one of the important issues taken up by the Union Scientific Ministry's communication wing, that is Vigyan Prasar, which has actually launched the India Science, Technology and Innovation portal. So one of the first things that we need to understand is why exactly was this portal introduced. So what we need to understand is there are a number of budding mathematicians, and these people are in a kind of confusion as what their future is all about. So in this particular case, you need one of the hubs as to find out what exactly would be the future of mathematics, what exactly would be the domains that they would want to work in. And apart from this, there are also other domains of research, let's say with respect to the climate change or with respect to the environment. So all these people, apart from the research people and apart from the mathematicians, they would know where exactly they would be heading in the future. So all these things, that is in terms of the research and other things with respect to mathematics, would be provided a particular portal where number of issues will be discussed, and at the same time these people would also know where they would be heading in the future because of all these issues being addressed in that particular portal. So when you look into what exactly this portal has a number of organizations carrying out research and who exactly is funding them, then this particular organization having international collaborations, and who are the scientists who are actually involved in this particular research, and which state is this particular organization actually located in, what exactly is their achievements, what exactly their impact are. So basically once a particular person gets to know what exactly this whole organizational setup is, he would be able to make a choice that he would want to go to this particular university or to this particular organization, because he would know who exactly is located in this, he would know who exactly is working on a particular prototype, and he would have an awareness as to this is what I need to pick up in the future. So this organization as a whole will have all the dimensions that is required from the research perspective, so that any person who wants to opt in the future would have a very clear idea about his future. And what this will also have is a compilation of technologies that is developed in India. That is, all these organizations would have developed a number of technologies, and who exactly funds them and what is the status of the technology will also be updated on this particular portal. And apart from this, this can also be one of the major thrust of the portal to reach out to students or the researchers, the scholars, the scientists, as well as many people from from India as well as abroad. So what we are also doing is we are getting number of people from abroad and we are reversing the brain drain. So what exactly happens in India is all the people who would want to succeed in life actually move out of India. So there is a lot of brain drain that happens from India. So they do get their basic education here and they push off outside India in order to get their higher education. And what this is doing is this is causing a lot of brain drain to India, and this is a kind of a brain loss to India. So what we are doing in this particular case is we are reversing this particular brain drain. So all those people who actually ventured into another country and they're working out in that region would have got acclimatized to the all the important applications and research papers. So these people, after getting acclimatized to all the research papers, imagine these people coming back and serving India. Is it not going to serve good to India? That's what is the main purpose. So what exactly happens is it is providing a thrust of this particular to reach to all those people, including the students, the researchers, the scholars, the scientists from India as well as abroad, so that there are being given certain fellowships, scholarships, funding as well as startup opportunities to make sure that we also actually improve in the domain of science and technology. There is also another important point that it speaks about, and that is it wants to channelize on one of to bring about what is called as the India Science Channel. So what exactly is this India Science Channel? It is one of the internet based science channel to showcase the developments in science and technology within India. So what it will do is it will showcase all the developments that have been happening in the region of science and technology, and it will surface and express the same thing in the public domain, so people have a basic idea about the developments that are happening with respect to the science and technology. So what this will also provide us, both the portal as well as the channel are a part of push by the science ministry to improve its public reach. And according to a roadmap prepared by the union government, the science ministry almost proposes to spend about 15 crore over the next 5 years to cover the cost of the portal development as well as updates. So this is all we will have to know with respect to this article. So moving on, let's look into the next article. So the next article says US cuts training for Pak military. So what exactly is the context? So when we look into the context, it says President Donald Trump's administration has quietly started cutting scores of Pakistani officers from coveted training and educational programs that have been a hallmark of the bilateral relationships for more than a decade. So what exactly is this whole article all about? So what this will have is we will have to understand one of the important things with respect to the international military education and training program. So what exactly happens within this international military and education program is, let's say for example US has a number of allied and friendly nations. So what USA actually does is it provides them number of valuable training as well as education of how USA actually executes a particular military training, as well as it standardizes certain programs with respect to its US military. So what it does is it provides all the allies as well as its friends whom it assumes so, providing them the military training. So the first point that we need to understand is, one is it knows who exactly its allies are, and once it discovers who its allies are, it provides them training. So basically it standardizes certain programs in the military, and then after standardization of the military program, it provides training to all the allied countries that it does to. So what exactly does it provide apart from the military training? It also provides the democratic values and also certain human rights that needs to be established in and around the world. So this is provided to all the allied countries. Apart from it, it also has military alliances. So what it basically does is it forms certain military alliances, and these military alliances are one like, let's say for example, the NATO. So what exactly happens in this particular case is USA has a particular national security goal. So it brings up a particular military alliance in order to make sure its goal, that is US goal, is actually reached. So let's say for example Russia was almost one of a time threats to the United States of America. So it did come up with one of the military alliance, and that was NATO. So what exactly happens is in this particular program there is also strengthening of the military alliance so that US is able to achieve its goals, and at the same time it also safeguards its allies. So the second point that is important is it it brings up this particular military alliance so that it can achieve USA's goals. At the same time, it also protects its alliances as well as its friends. And the third thing that we'll have to understand is promoting the regional stability. So what exactly happens with this particular regional stability? Let's say, for example, a country like Afghanistan. So what exactly happens is, let's say Afghanistan was always a threat to United States of America after like 2000s. So what exactly happens is there is a particular regional instability that is happening, and because there is regional instability, what this country United States will do is it will bring up alliances in the form of another country. So in this particular case, it bought a very good relationship with respect to Pakistan. So what they do is they provide all the professional military training and education to this particular instabilized area's neighbor country. So in this particular case, it is Pakistan. So Pakistan would be provided all the military training and education, and then it would make sure that there is stability established in this particular area, and that is, as example, we have taken as Afghanistan. So what it basically goes on to do is it will improvise its relationship with respect to Pakistan or any country for that matter, provide them all the training with respect to the military and education, and it will develop personal relationship with all the defense leaders in that particular country so that it is able to bring about stability into that region. So that's the major point that we will have to consider. And at the same time, what it also does is, let's say for example, there are certain international challenges. So one of the international challenges that can be considered from the US perspective is terrorism. So what exactly happened post 9/11? So there was large scale terrorism that was building everywhere in and around the world. So what it basically tries to do is it will understand what exactly are the shared international challenges within the world, and what it will do is it will foster the relationship that is necessary with all these countries to counter the challenges like the terrorism, so that there is approach where they are all actually acting as an independent nations, and these independent nations are coming together to counter this particular challenge, and one of the challenges can be terrorism. So what basically US does in all these processes, one is it helps the allies or the friends by training them military alliances to bring in the stability as well as addressing the challenges. So basic idea of the international military education training program is to provide all this to the countries who are actually part of this particular program. So what exactly happened in this particular case is Pakistan has been removed from the number of programs that has been initiated in the past and which they were part of this particular IMET. So what we need to do is that there is a proposal that the Trump administration has actually given, and they have actually started initiating this process. What has happened is Pakistan has already been removed from the program at the US Naval War College, Naval Staff College, as well as courses including this cyber security studies. So this has been the initiation that has been taken by the Trump administration in order to make sure that Pakistan does not become a hub of terrorism in the future. So what is the criticisms that we see? So what exactly happened is there is this particular move that has been initiated, but now what we will have to understand is this is kind of a criticism that has been coming from both the quarters. One is from Pakistan as well as from the people of United States themselves. So there are certain officials in the United States as well as in Pakistan who have actually criticized this particular move. What they have actually said is that this particular decision that the US administration has actually taken can actually impinge the number of key building measures that have been taken over time. So any relationship for that matter takes a number of years to actually build and sustain the relationship, and United States of America has done this with respect to Pakistan. Now all of a sudden, in case you do remove Pakistan from this particular training, what would happen is there would be a trust deficit that builds up, and someone else will come over and occupy this void region. And at the same time, what it has also said is this will have a lot of negative impacts which will actually limit the bilateral relationship. Pakistan was listening to us and we were able to establish the stability in Afghanistan, but if you remove this Pakistan from this training, what would happen is it will develop a negative impact, and Pakistan will not be able to listen to United States, and this can be a problem of stability. And at the same time, Pakistan has also warned that in case you're not going to provide the training and so on, what we would do is we would go towards China and Russia, and this can be a major problem to the United States in bringing about the stability in Afghanistan. So this is what we will have to understand from this article. So moving on, let's look into the next article. So the next article is about the prelims focus. one of the things that we have to understand is Amchang Wildlife Sanctuary. The important point is where exactly is it situated? It is situated in Guwahati in Assam. So this is all we will have to know. Why? Because UPSC has been asking prelims as to where exactly a particular wildlife sanctuary or a national park is located. That is why we have picked this particular one. It is on your page 18 of your Hindu. So moving on, let's look into the next one, and that is to do with your awareness. So AG lashes out at trials for intolerance on the page 1. Just have a basic idea of what the Attorney General has actually spoken about with respect to the lynching, and then 3-year RI for Odisha IAS officer on page 3. So this becomes a very important article in terms of the ethics paper. So all that we have basically started believing is ethics is one paper which is actually just writing answers in terms of integrity, compassion, empathy, sympathy, and all the emotional quotient and so on. But ethics is not about writing it on your paper. Ethics is about implementing the same thing in the personal life. So ethics is not about reading the philosophies, it is about executing the philosophies. Ethics is not about writing and scoring high marks in exams, it is about scoring high in personal life. So ethics is not about getting rich and rich with money, ethics is about getting rich and rich with character. So what we need to understand is that ethics, in case you're writing it on your paper, it also means that you're implementing it in your personal life. Ethics is not about skipping the signals when you're walking through the lane. Ethics is not about actually hurting someone, losing your compassion. Ethics is all about implementing the same thing that you are reading on the ethics paper and doing the same thing. So there is a thought that Mahatma Gandhi has always said, there is everything for the man's need, but there is not for every man's greed. So what is exactly happened in this particular case is an Odisha IAS officer on the charges of corruption has actually put behind bars. So every person who is actually born into reaching this particular goal has gone through a lot of perseverance, and when you're going through this perseverance, you have a noble thought of actually treating the people. So what we need to understand is we are civil servants, that is, we are not the masters. So all that we need to do is we need to empathize and have the compassion towards the people, because the government has recruited us, and when you're doing the government's work, it means you're doing God's work. Imagine this, there are people who have a tremendous flight in their lives, and all that we are doing is we are providing them an opportunity to live a better life. So we are here not as a master, but we are here as civil servants to all the people who will be working, and we will be uplifting their lives. So make sure that all the struggles that you are going through to reach that particular path of reaching your goals of IAS, IPS, IRS, or any service within the domains of the government, you're doing it to serve the people and not to serve the self. And this is where the integrity comes into picture, the inner conscious comes into picture, and that is what we need to develop in the ethics paper. And it is not only about scoring marks. Moving on, let's look into the next one. 2 MPs being private bill against lynching, women's group backs amendments to Talak bill. So these two bills will be discussed in the future, because there have been a lot of discussions that have been happening. And then Pakistan hopes to host SARC summit, and then Trump double steel aluminium tariff on Turkey on page 10. So kindly go through these articles. These articles have already been discussed. This is just one of the probables. We are still not sure what exactly is going to be the status. Once we have a clear-cut picture, we will be discussing once again all of this. Okay, so please visit the BYJU'S CNA, look into the practice questions both pre as well as mains, put in all your answers on the comment section so that we can update you what exactly is the feedback that is required. So this is it for today. Thank you so much. All the best.